Neo-feudalism perpetuated by the new billionaire class. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, philanthropists or impostors. Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have two things in common. They are both billionaires and they are both philanthropists. However, the greedy 21st century capitalist experiment has taught us to be skeptic of billionaire philanthropists as wolves dressed up in generous sheep's clothing. According to the Billionaire Index, the former has a net worth of US $102.5 billion, and the latter is valued US $137.2 billion. In November 2021, Bloomberg.com reported that Jeff Bezos' charitable fund donated US $100 million to 32 recipients from 21 states in the United States. Most of the money went to housing charities. Since 1994, Bill and Melinda Gates have become global trendsetters among the billionaire class. During this period, they have given a whopping total of US $50 billion in charity through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. According to the foundation, $912 million of this money is earmarked to fight diseases such as AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria in the global south. How therefore do these seemingly well-meaning techno-billionaires fit the mold of neo-feudalists? A definition of neo-feudalism describes policies of governance, economy, and public life similar to many feudal societies. Among the tenets of this is unequal rights and the removal of legal protections from common people in favor of a new nobility of the billionaire class, the dominance of societies by powerful and elite groups, and the return of serf lordship relationships. These modern-day billionaires don't own armies and definitely won't extract knights' fees for their large assets, but they bear striking similarities. Yanis Varoufakis posits that contemporary capitalism has evolved into a feudal-like structure of economies and societies, which he refers to as techno-feudalism. The five biggest tech companies, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and Facebook, are valued at US $7.5 trillion, Wall Street Journal 2020. This is more than Japan's gross domestic product. We at Kingstonmouth.com believe that we are entering a new phase of capitalism that could produce economic feudal lords wielding unbridled power that has never been experienced before. On closer examination, these techno-billionaires are not squeaky clean and kind in the way that the establishment media and capitalist outriders present them to us. We know, for example, that Bill Gates has never planted a carrot and must look like a right mug in a pair of wellies. Yet this has been on the largest land-grabbing spree in the US since modern history. The smell of gunpowder or the cracking of the whip may not accompany Bill Gates on his land acquisition pursuits. However, he has used his money to acquire unquestioned purchase of 242,000 acres of farmland in the US, valued at $690 million. This makes Bill Gates the largest owner of farmland in the US, which ought to ring alarm bells for food security in the US. However, the purchase has gone by unchallenged by the US antitrust laws. In 1862, the Homestead Act passed in the US, forcing Native American Indians into reservations, as they were chased off their lands by mainly white settlers, who received up to 160 acres of free lands in Western America. This kick-started a North American variant of neo-feudalism and paved the way for a new category of mainly white male-dominated landowning class. In a country built on forced slave labor and stolen native lands, this dubious acquisition of land by this neo-feudalist sums up the new American dream, from money bags to more riches. The US Congress and Senate has turned a blind eye to a grave economic injustice. It is by far the biggest monopolistic land grab the billionaire class in modern America's history. Likewise, it comes as no surprise that during the COVID pandemic, Bill Gates, the philanthropist, was the biggest global voice on this, despite not having a degree in virology. A close examination of Bill Gates' business activities reveals that the Microsoft giant has used his Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation questionably, despite their public display of generosity. Their philanthropy is admirable, but critics regard as a platform from which they wield enormous influence on the governing and establishment class. The foundation has enabled them to legally evade tax and acquired billions of dollars worth of government and private contracts, new business acquisitions, and increased investments. There is no doubt that the soft power that they wield is from the Capitalist Handbook. Whether it meets the criteria of a neo-feudalist is debatable. However, their new land-grabbing exercise, unchecked by the US government, surely raises alarm bells and could be viewed as a threat to US food security. The company Microsoft has also been the subject of numerous lawsuits by several governments and other companies for unlawful monopolistic practices. In 2004, the European Union found Microsoft guilty in the European Union Microsoft competition case. Additionally, EULAs for Microsoft programs are often criticized as being too restrictive. Furthermore, investigative journalist Tim Schwab has accused Gates of using his contributions to the media to shape their coverage of him in order to protect his public image. In contrast, Jeff Bezos is no mild-mannered billionaire like the Gates. He is a feisty money man who often describes his staff as stupid. He is the second richest billionaire in the world and is the owner of Amazon and the influential Washington Post newspaper. These constitute a mere 1% of his assets. Jeff Bezos has money for several lifespans of ordinary millionaires. His charitable contributions are jaw-dropping. According to the New York Times newspaper, Jeff has given away US $2.1 billion so far. We know, for example, that among the charities that benefit from him annually is one that feeds 13.8 million food-insecure American households for a month. Quite impressive, isn't it? He is able to give generously because Amazon is an American multinational technology company which focuses on e-commerce, cloud computing, digital streaming, and artificial intelligence. It is the largest internet-based store in the world by total sales and market capitalization. We are drawn to the attention of Jeff Bezos' nefarious tax dodging by the Key News homepage of Tuesday the 8th of June 2021. The cavorting billionaires such as George Soros and Jeff Bezos were not paying their fair share of federal income tax commensurate to what they are earning. The report went on to outline that these billionaires were pursuing dodgy tax avoidance strategies that were illegal, such as reductions for charitable donations. The article reported specifically that Jeff Bezos, founder and departing CEO of Amazon, paid no income tax at all in 2007 and 2011. The matter came to a crescendo when members of the patriotic millionaires held a peaceful federal tax filing protest day outside of Jeff Bezos' apartment to demand that he pay his fair share of taxes. However, despite calls from the Democratic Party to levy a rich tax on billionaires led by Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren, the US President Joe Biden is failing to act. In recent times, Amazon has been criticized by a New York Times report that workers at Amazon warehouses face 10-hour shifts on their feet. Federal regulators recently ordered Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and CEO Andy Jassy to testify in the government's investigation of Amazon Prime's working practices. They reject the company's counter-complaint that the executives are being unfairly harassed in the probe of the popular streaming and shopping service. Amazon has been accused by the UK Guardian newspaper of treating staff like robots. It emerged that ambulances had been called out 600 times to the online retailer's UK warehouses in the past 3 years. A Freedom of Information request to ambulance services from the GMB Union revealed 115 call-outs to Amazon's site near Birmingham in the United Kingdom. Workers at the Amazon warehouse have said that the constant pressure to hit performance targets makes it difficult for them to take time out to use the bathroom or get a drink during their shift. At least 1,800 people work year-round at the Rugeley warehouse, and more than 2,000 more can work there during the Christmas period. Amazon has been accused by the New York Times of funding climate change denial groups, including the Competitive Enterprise Institute, and politicians denying climate change, including Oklahoma Senator Jim Inhofe. The Jeff Bezos-owned company also spent an average of $14 million yearly, employing an average of 113 lobbyists. Amazon.com focuses its lobbying money on the United States Congress, the Federal Communications Commission, and the Federal Reserve. Amazon lobbies the United States federal government and state governments on multiple issues such as the enforcement of sales taxes on online sales, transportation safety, privacy and data protection, and intellectual property, We know for sure that the generously giving philanthropist Bezos has been greedily breaking the law around the globe in an attempt to expand his business empire. Additionally, Good Morning America brought to our attention in May 2018 that the selling of counterfeit products by Amazon has attracted widespread notice. This has included some products sold directly by Amazon itself and marked as ships from and sold by Amazon.com. Similarly, in August 2019, the Wall Street Journal reported that they had found more than 4,000 items for sale on Amazon's site that had been declared unsafe by federal agencies, had misleading labels, or had been banned by federal regulators. Correspondingly, in August 2020, an appeals court in California ruled that Amazon can be held liable for unsafe products sold on its website. A Californian had bought a replacement laptop battery that caught fire and caused her to sustain third-degree burns. India is practicing a hybrid form of capitalism, which is in part protectionist. It is difficult for larger external conglomerates to enter the country through the back door without being caught. In December 2019, the Competition Commission of India suspended an approval for the strategic takeover of Future Retail and levied a penalty of Rs 200 crores on Amazon. The Indian regulators discovered that Amazon intended to acquire a local company to take advantage of foreign investment relaxations and not publicly owing to its interest in the company. Amazon appealed this order in the company tribunal. Later in March 2022, the CCI defended its order in court, citing misrepresentation on the part of Amazon. According to a report released by Fair Taxmark in 2019, Amazon is the worst offender of tax avoidance, having paid a 12% effective tax rate between 2010 and 2018, in contrast with 35% corporate tax rate in the US during the same period. Amazon countered that it had a 24% effective tax rate during the same period. But the great philanthropist tax dodging is not confined to the US. The independent newspaper reported in May 2012 that Amazon's tax affairs were investigated in China, Germany, Poland, South Korea, France, Japan, Ireland, Singapore, Luxembourg, Italy, Spain, United Kingdom, United States, and Portugal. The kind versus cruel billionaire debate will be the cat-herding exercise of the 21st century. Likewise, distinguishing the difference between a billionaire and philanthropist these days is similar to identify the difference between cobras and rattlesnakes. They both look good from afar but are a danger within striking distance. Nevertheless, the economic plunder by the techno-billionaire class has now become a way of life too difficult to bear. They are the new poster boys of neo-feudalism, too rich to be straight and too powerful to pay their fair share of taxes. They control government's officials and own the establishment press. They give themselves title as philanthropists to rebrand and sanitize their image. Be careful of the billionaire dressed up as an economic knight in shining armor. If you tear away his mask, what you may find is a greedy tax-evading demon. Taxation is the price which civilized communities pay for the opportunity of remaining civilized, asserts Albert Bushnell Hart. We at Kingstonmouth.com believe in levying a global wealth tax on rich billionaires. The billionaire class are natural climate change deniers who are not in favor of the Green New Deal and are opposed to the fair distribution of wealth. So it is imperative for us to have a wealth tax in place to close the gap between the rich and the poor. We believe that a global wealth tax supported by the UN would refocus our attention to the dichotomy between the global super-rich techno-feudalist and everyone else. We also envision that the money gained from this tax could fund a breakthrough innovation in sustainable energy technology which could drive down both greenhouse gas emissions and poverty and bring economic benefits to all by stabilizing energy prices. At Kingstonmouth.com, our parting advice to Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates is simple. Continue to give generously. However, we suggest in that you pay your fair share of tax. Although it seems such advice may well fall on deaf ears. Anne Smith recently jokingly remarked, "We may well see the rich millionaire class going to prison in our lifetime before the cavorting billionaires pay their fair share of tax." Upon sensing that her response had jolted me, she climbed down sarcastically by reassuring me that if it happened after my death, she would have the news of it nailed to my gravestone.